Arjun, people seem to be doing this Stok Kangri trek just for its altitude. I mean, it goes up to around 20,000 feet. But there's also this Kanamo trek which goes up to almost 20,000 feet. So how do these two treks compare?
Oh, it compares very well. Because as you know, Stok Kangri is just a shade above 20,000 feet, and then we have Kanamo Peak, which is also around 20,000 feet. I mean, the difference between these two, Stok Kangri and Kanamo, would be hardly 100 feet this side or that side. And see, there are a lot of treks which you do because of the prettiness. You do it for the landscape, and then a lot of treks you do for the thrill of it, the thrill of climbing to a very high altitude, and Stok Kangri is one of them, and so is Kanamo. Now the advantage which Kanamo has over Stok Kangri is Kanamo is in Spiti, and the landscape of Spiti is still very much untouched, unlike how it is in Ladakh. You get the same desert mountains, in fact lot more starker in Spiti. You get these ancient villages like Kibber and all those other villages which are near the base of Kanamo, but they're not as much touched by commercialization as Ladakh has been touched. So getting to Spiti and enjoying the spectacle of Spiti, the landscape of Spiti, and climbing to a high summit which is at 20,000 feet, and then taking in this grand views from 20,000 feet. It's almost like you're on an airliner and you're taking this lovely views, and miles that you see will only be snow-covered peaks that you see in any direction. And that's Kanamo Peak for you. So Kanamo Peak is, I would put it any day better than doing Stok Kangri because of Spiti, and also because it is a lot more easier to access it. You don't really have to spend so much of money as you have to do to go to Ladakh. Here from Manali, you can take it's a day's drive to the base of the trek, and then you spend a few days acclimatizing to that place, and then you can actually do the summit. This thing, and the drive, that's again something worth doing.
But what about the difficulty level? Because you suddenly gain a lot of altitude in Kanamo.
You do have to spend a lot of time acclimatizing before you do Kanamo summit. You just can't get on to the summit even though it is right there. So you have to spend 3 or 4 days acclimatization, and it's not an easy trek by any stretch of imagination. It's almost like Stok Kangri where you have to, the summit day is 12-13 hours of huge adventure. You start early in the morning, right about 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or even earlier than that with your headlights on, and then you go for the summit and you come back only in the evening around about 3-4 o'clock. So it's easily a 12-hour summit day.
My God, sounds exhausting. Does it involve any technical climb?
There isn't too much of technical climb, but as a summit climb, you have to be the fittest of trekkers to do this trek. You cannot attempt the Kanamo if you are starting out on trekking, and you must not. It requires the strongest and the fittest trekkers to attempt this summit, but there aren't any technical section where you can fall off or something like that.
And what would you say is the best time to do this?
July, August and up to mid-September. It wouldn't open even before that because the snows would be too much, and after mid-September onwards you have the winter snows coming in, so again the weather. So you have this window of 2.5, almost 3 months which you can do this trek.
So it has a similar season as Stok Kangri?
Absolutely, it is almost, if you are thinking of Stok Kangri, think of Kanamo. I would put it that way, and I find it a lot more attractive to do. It doesn't have the crowd as how Stok Kangri has. It's absolutely, you'll be perhaps the only team doing it. You have the grandeur of Spiti to look in, which is not, it's very much untouched, unlike how Ladakh is. The accessibility is a lot easier. Plus you have the attraction of going to Chandratal on the way back or on the way ahead, and that itself is a huge attraction. So there are a lot of things. Plus the remote villages that you get to see there, the life, the culture level is very high. Again, unlike Ladakh, which has got a little bit commercialized, I would say.
Alright, thanks a lot Arjun for throwing light on the Kanamo.
Thank you, Swati.